Hey, everybody, welcome to the City of Binghamton's Commission on Architecture, Urban Design, Historic Preservation. My name is John Darrow, and I am the chairman of the board. We are going to start off today's meeting, March 5th, 2024, with an introduction of the others at the table. To my left, introduce yourself, sir. Glad you're here, Robert. Glad you're here, Jonathan.
Robert Kavanaugh, Binghamton City Council.
Glad you're here. Learn from his example. There is a microphone, gentlemen.
Brian Haas, Commissioner.
Brian, glad you're here.
I'm Nick Ballard, Acting Parks Commissioner.
Welcome, Nick.
David Whalen.
David, always a pleasure.
Juliet Burling, Planning Director, ex officio.
Always a pleasure.
Dylan Pelton, Planning Department.
Wonderful.
Preservation.
Glad we're all here. So give me 1 second here. Do we have the remote phone number on here someplace? It's the one, huh? I don't see it. I'm sorry. Oh, okay. So if somebody wants to join in, click the link if you want to join in, which is the https://us06web.z0ZOOM.us/J small capital J/872-452-33514. If anyone needs that repeated, please let me know. We are now officially open. The call to order, roll call. We need an approval of the minutes as presented for both January and February. I reviewed the January minutes and I was present, so I would make a motion to approve those as presented. Do I have a second? Thank you, sir. All in favor? You weren't here in January. Okay, you can't vote. Okay. Unanimous from us that are here. I was not here for the February meeting. I did attend via the telephone, but I don't believe I can vote on that, not having been present. So I would entertain a motion for those minutes, if you've reviewed them, to be accepted as presented, and then ask for a vote from somebody that was here. Thank you. Second. Thank you. All in favor? You were here. Good. Okay, unanimous. Minutes are approved for both January and February 2024. Now, our first item on the agenda is 1 Water Street, which is a certificate of appropriateness. And this looks like it's going to be some pretty murals and public art, I guess. The applicant, Caitlin Davy, would like to install a community message board on the interior of the tunnel at Confluence Park. Message board and graffiti go hand in hand. Do you want to make a presentation, sir?
The applicant, Caitlin Davy, would like to install a community message board on the interior of the tunnel at Confluence Park. That's a rendering of what it would look like.
Is the applicant here? Please come down. I'm so sorry. I should have invited you first off. I'm recently back in town. Is the fox chasing the hare? Is the hare? First, I need you to press your little button and introduce yourself, my dear.
Hi, I'm
Hi.
Caitlin Davy.
Glad you're here.
I am a graduate student at Binghamton University, finishing my master's in public
A little
administration
louder if you.
and public administration and sustainable communities. So this is a proposal as a part of my capstone project where I wanted to give back this gift to the community. The bulletin board and the mural in my mind go hand in hand in space activation because right now the tunnel is this very cool architectural feature, but it's got some, shoddy ad hoc graffiti there at times. It smells like urine, like it's not very pleasant. And
You've noticed so.
yeah, so I have been in consultation with a friend who is a muralist who's been installing these kind of oversized, realistic animal portraiture and scrolly work around the southern tier area and beyond. And he has created a tiered pricing proposal depending on how much money I can raise, if this is approved whereby the area immediately around the mural would be, or around the bulletin board would have some artwork. And I wrote the scope of this to, hopefully it's clear that we'd like to paint the whole tunnel or at least half the tunnel. And that could be done in tiered stages as well. But all this is negotiable. I've been in contact with both Dylan and Patrick about DEC approval, which I think has been approved since I first submitted this in December. But that's what I'm here to find out, what
Pat
questions you have.
Pat said it was okay with the DEC.
Okay, that's good news.
So I have a question. When
Great.
you say the whole tunnel, both sides for the full length of the tunnel?
I expect that between now and May, the most that money I could raise and time that we would have to work on, it would probably be one side of the tunnel. But
Okay.
if that was
But the full length of
the full length, yeah.
Okay. Okay. And is the bulletin board the blank spots between the rabbit and the fox?
Yeah, it kind of looks like a chalkboard there because the materials that I'm looking at are, it's like a recycled rubber. So it's a black background.
Okay.
And so there are commercially available boards. But I feel that I would need to, because the area above the ground and where it starts to curve upwards is fairly narrow. I think I'd have to kind of rip the board lengthwise and do two next to each other rather than one big tall one.
Mhm.
And in order to make it, stronger against warping, kind of laminate that against another layer of plywood so that it would be robust. And I did talk to Patrick about how his concern was that in past bulletin boards have been enclosed in plexiglass for protection. And my point, which he really appreciated, was that because this is a somewhat sheltered location, it would not require a plexiglass enclosure. And that was very attractive to Parks and Rec because there wouldn't be broken plexiglass or the need to replace it. So this is a rendering here about how it would be mounted to two parallel rails that would be drilled and mounted to the cement, and then the board could be removed if needed, or something like permanent signage of some sort could be put there as well. But my contribution would be the rails and that initial bulletin board
Okay.
of the painting.
And the bulletin board would run the full length of the mural also.
I think that might be an excessive amount of bulletins board space,
Okay.
although when I first proposed this working conversation with Sarah Gloss last year, we talked about how it could be used for different purposes, or it could be a tiered growth of the bulletin board. But I think that like 8 feet of bulletin board, like 2.5 feet wide, is
maybe
probably
4-foot
sufficient.
section at the north end of the tunnel and a 4-foot at the south end of the tunnel,
That's negotiable, certainly.
mural in between. Okay.
I was
I'm just-
thinking the 2 lanes next to each other, but
Mhm.
one on one end, one on the other could be a way to do it as
It'd
well.
also give you optimum illumination from the natural light.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's
Thinking is a terrible thing on my part. The steam comes out of my ears. It's awful.
Out of curiosity, what are the dimensions of the panels,
of the tunnel or of the bulletin board.
bulletin board?
The bulletin board, the panels here would be about 2.5 feet is tall by 4 feet wide. So I was thinking the two of them next to each other, which would kind of encourage people to just post one thing once, whereas if they're at 2 different ends of the tunnel, then you get the posting on one end and posting on the other, which kind of decreases the overall amount of space that people could use, but I like it. So I'm gonna have to think about that.
There are
So
options.
the working dimensions were 2.5 by 4 feet and then 2 sections next to each other. So 2.5 by 8 feet. But all of this is negotiable and I value all
Okay.
the feedback.
So I'm gonna throw a couple opinions of mine out, and then I'm gonna turn it over for some discussion, only because I'm a very opinionated person. It's a terrible thing. My understanding from what we do is that we would have to see a final drafting of what you plan on putting up for us to be able to approve it to be installed. We can approve in theory going forward, but we would have to see, is this the rabbit and is this the hare, where they are, the dimensions, and to go ahead. I like it. Okay, I think it's really cool. I would need that info to be able to bring it before the board to make a motion for approval. We'd have to see what's the mural gonna be, everything else. Anybody else have some questions for the young lady, or discussion or comments? Likes, dislikes?
Who's gonna maintain this over the years? Are you gonna keep up with it, or is the city parks department periodically going to check on it?
I cannot commit to keeping up with it because I do not live in Binghamton, although my daughter is probably attending Broome in the fall, so I expect to visit. So part of the original planning was that there would be some signage about self-governance on it, about, this is, please remove expired postings, please keep the area clean and whatnot. I believe, so since I am in contact with Parks and Rec, I believe there's some expectation that as they're going through, they're doing whatever, cleaning or whatnot that they would normally be doing, that they could alert me as to the condition of it. There is if you're thinking in terms of vandalism, like paint on top of the paint, I am aware and there's included in the quote I've been working on is there's like the safeguard, there's like a layer that you can put on top of the paint so that it can withstand up to 7 pressure washes. But then every time you pressure wash it, you probably want to reapply it. I'm more of the mind that if some sort of other vandalism, like artwork, graffiti was put on top of it, that's just kind of part of the organic evolution of the space and that people can own it in that way. But there is a concern that there might be vandalism on the graffiti, and wouldn't that be sad? Or maybe that's just the way of life. So there are very few parts that could be broken, very few things that would need to be repaired. So I can see how if the bulletin board feature itself was not being maximally utilized, that those mounts existing there could provide the opportunity for another, like either organization or agencies to install more permanent, like a map of the city or, signage that was promoting like Roberson or the zoo or whatnot, so that could be an asset that could be utilized by others moving forward. My hope is that the bulletin board would serve the people who would otherwise be wanting to vandalize it, because there's this opportunity there. There's this, intentional effort to create a space for them. So maybe instead of vandalizing it, they'll actually look at the board and find an opportunity or a new hobby or something. So that's as far as I've thought on it. Yes, those are definitely concerns. I'm not sure what more I can do to mitigate it, except to visit Binghamton once in a while and see what the status is. I could also use contacts at the college through some of the student organizations, like the graduate student organization, to see if they could provide periodic updates, or professors who are going through there. But that's as much as I can do from where I'm at.
Who's going to do the installation?
I'm well versed in power tools, and I was planning to do the installation myself. Although if and when this moves forward, I'd like to reach out to an appropriate organization that could act as a fiscal sponsor, so that any money that I raise, I'm not personally on the hook for managing. So part of that conversation might be to see if somebody else would do some of the drilling into the concrete, but I'm fully prepared to do it
Okay.
myself. I would
And
just
we're going to need
prefer
the
not to.
material for the paints being applied to make sure they're concrete adhesive and.
Yes, to
So
make
all
sure
the
they're
fun stuff.
compatible. Yes.
Mhm. Do you remember the message cube that was in front of the old federal building? Now it was the old post office, now the
Mhm.
federal building on Henry Street. This big, like a board cube out there. No.
What happened to it?
Vandalism would be the main reason it was removed. It just turned into a unsightly thing. It was cool in its concept. Again, I like it. I'm also thinking possibly in the back of my mind, maybe a continuous mural more than having the message board there, just because thinking forward. Yeah, but there's options here. I think it's cool. Any other comments or questions for the young lady? Then I'm inclined to table it pending getting the information about installation, the final draft to be approved or disapproved,
So is that she just needs the final draft and the installation?
correct?
Okay.
So in terms of what that would look like, I'm sorry, would I need to attend in person another one of these meetings with a final
I
version of the
think if
artwork?
You email Dylan the murals and the dimensions and the materials being used, that we could probably approve that pretty quick.
When you say materials being used, because I have ownership, certainly of the whole project, but of the bulletin board part, that's what I have sourced. The mural artist has, a range of paints that he can choose from. It was mentioned that DEC might have some requirements as to the types of paints that can be used and the
They
different
do, and that's
compatibilities.
out of our
Okay,
wheelhouse, but once it's all, so we've got several types and a full color spectrum that we can approve.
okay,
And we have, if you look around town, murals are coming everywhere and it's a great thing. But we just need to, oh, well, that's a DS 29, tan. Okay, fine, we're good to go, or
Okay.
that's a DS 32. We can't allow that on the,
Is there somebody I can speak to about guidance as to those? Have you done? Okay.
I defer to the master at the end of the table.
What exactly was the question?
In order to submit paints and materials that would pass and approval, is there any guidance preemptively as to what those would be, or do I just keep submitting until it's
Well,
right?
as long as the mural is fairly accurate, I think we can make a decision based on that.
Okay, and the mural itself is a, tiered project contingent upon, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, when you guys are done. Okay.
What?
They're done.
Oh, sure.
Back to you.
Okay, my last question being, since this is a tiered project contingent upon the funding being raised for it, should I submit the different tiers of, would just be like the panels, consecutive panels growing,
That
or?
would probably be a good idea. So if a panel's required to have $1,000 to fund a panel and you're going to put in 6 panels. You've raised $2,000, you can do 2. We need to know what we're able to approve at that
Okay.
time. And we could probably give you some wiggle room to expand in a certain time frame.
Okay,
So like we could give you like a year to do this as it progressed.
okay,
Okay.
fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you
Yeah.
for being here.
Sure, I'm going to stick around for the rest. Thank you.
And I think Nick from the Parks Department wanted to have a word with you about your mural. So the next case is 188 Court Street. Now, last time when we were discussing this particular property, it came up with the state through this guy, Daniel Boggs, through the SHPO office, that it was a type 1 action because it's across the street from the Phelps Mansion. Because it's a type 1 action, the state has to weigh in. And until they weigh in, we're just going to table this until they make their own decision.
So a motion to table 188 Court Street pending the disposition of the state's review. Second. Thank you, Jonathan. All in favor? Unanimous? Cool. Then we have 99 Collier Street. Is there anybody here for 99? Welcome, sir.
Hello,
Please state your name and contact information.
my name is Tamer Osman. I'm the office manager of Fisher Associates.
Very nice building, by the way.
There's
Brian, since you work there, you have to abstain from. Yeah.
Hopefully I get this wording correct. I am abstaining from this case due to conflict of interest since I work there as well.
I think the technical term is recusing yourself.
I recuse myself from this
You are
vote.
recused.
Nicely done, Brian. Nicely done.
Do we still have quorum?
I don't think so, but we can discuss it.
Okay.
The applicant Taylor Osmond would like to install a sign above his business.
Sir,
yes, we just moved into
a little louder and a little clearer. I'm sorry. I'm old and hard of hearing.
it's okay. Can you hear me
Thank you.
better now?
Yes.
Yeah. So we just moved to a bigger space and we're really happy with it and would like to propose a sign outside of the building. And we have 2 options. One just black Fisher Associates and the other one is colored with the company's logo. So that's the preferred option we have.
I like the color one better.
I do too,
I think
yeah,
it grabs the building a little more.
correct.
This was the same place. There was a Citizens
Citizens
Bank,
Bank.
yeah, sign.
And
So
then
it-
just a window sign for the door. It's a no-brainer, really.
Yeah,
Discussion, comments, anybody? I don't see any problem with this going forward, except when he recused himself. We no longer have a quorum to be able to give you a vote of approval at this time.
I don't see any reason that it won't go through, but yeah, we can't vote on it today.
Vote on it. I couldn't hear you. Sure. Never done one of those, but how does it proceed? Do roll call? Okay, so we're gonna do a straw vote to approve the Fisher Associates sign. I'm going to call your color orange. Oh, I'm sorry. We're garnering an opinion to kind of start this ball rolling. Minusing you. Jonathan, do you have an opinion on the orange sign for Fisher Associates as presented? Do you like it, dislike it? Okay, we like it.
I do like it.
And I also think it's a wonderful sign. We like it.
Thank you.
So are we tabling? What's, okay, so unfortunately, sir,
Yeah,
we have to
we'll
table it until our next meeting when we have a quorum. But I would render an opinion that you probably should get ready to put your sign up,
Appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you.
but you just can't do it until we give you that final.
Sounds good.
And you could be ready to go that afternoon. Okay, any other new business, any other old business that we have to revisit?
I don't think so.
Okay, then nothing else going on. I would make a motion to adjourn the whatever today's date is,
Okay.
March 5th. 2024 meeting of the Caud Commission. Second? Somebody? Thank you, sir. All in favor? Aye, great. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Have a
you.
wonderful day.